today, and I want to dive right in. I want to start with the files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And President Trump last week signed into law the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And this compels the Department of Justice to release everything that they have as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein within a 30-day time period since President Trump signed it. There are exceptions there, which we will get into. But to start off the conversation, you supported this legislation. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I am thankful that it finally came to the floor. The only reason it came to the floor is that Democrats, along with a handful of Republicans with a spine, forced it to the floor by signing a discharge petition to require the legislation to be considered, and that forced Speaker Johnson's hand, who had essentially prevented it from being able to go through the normal legislative process. That's revolting that was the way we had to get it to the floor, because there are over 1,000 victims of Jeffrey Epstein. These are women who were sexually assaulted as teenagers and even younger, and making sure that they get the justice that they deserve and that those files are released, as well as, frankly, making sure that we pass my Courtney Wild legislation to ensure that no victims can ever suffer the fate that these Epstein victims did by not even being informed about the sweetheart plea deal that the Acosta U.S. attorney negotiated and got an agreement for.
And you and I have talked about the Courtney Wild Act before that had bipartisan support. Right. The DOJ is now on the clock here after Trump signed this into law. They had 30 days from when he signed it to release these files. That brings it to December 19th. No later than can they release the files. What are you expecting to see in those documents?
Well, I'm sure that the Trump administration and the CEO of his vengeance law firm, Pam Bondi, will go right up into the last minute to release those files. That's right around Christmas, and that's so that they are buried under, the Christmas holiday crunch. I don't know what we'll see, but we'll finally be able to see more detail that sheds light on the fact that Donald Trump himself is the most mentioned individual over 1,000 times in the files that have been released from the Epstein estate. So I'm deeply concerned about not only what the president's potential involvement was here, and that there's a lot more there than he's alluded to and in fact has likely lied about. But the bottom line is no matter what, we need to make sure that there is full light shed on what really happened here. And it is absolutely critical that this kind of sweetheart deal that he got, remember, this was a long time ago, and folks may not remember that Jeffrey Epstein, instead of facing federal felony charges, was able to get away with a sweetheart deal with state misdemeanor charges, and essentially was on house arrest and released to his own office every single day, and was still victimizing the survivors during that time. We can never allow that to happen again, and we always have to make sure in the future, by passing my Courtney Wild law, that victims always have the ability to weigh in court and to ask for annulment of sweetheart deals like this.
This legislation, like I said earlier, has a few exceptions. I want to talk about one of them. Materials can be withheld that, quote, would jeopardize an active federal investigation or ongoing prosecution. Does that concern you?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. Yes, I have really serious concerns that, if you remember, Trump, right before the bill passed through the Congress, he demanded Pam Bondi get a U.S. attorney to open an investigation, of course, against Democratic individuals. To me, it doesn't matter who the light is shed on. Whoever was involved in victimizing these young women, these teenagers, needs to be held accountable. But of course, he has hidden behind investigations again and again as to why the files couldn't be released. That if he uses that as a shield from the most sensitive documents, that will be unacceptable. But that's exactly what I expect him to do.
And is there anything Congress can do if you suspect the DOJ of shielding certain documents to implore them to release them?
Well, the House Oversight Committee issued a subpoena. Right now, Trump is already required through the subpoena that was issued by the House Oversight Committee to release all the files. He should be releasing all the files now. A law now specifically forces him to do that. So I expect, and I'm confident that the House Oversight Committee will continue to press for files to be released, to use the tools that they have at their disposal to do that. But it would not surprise me at all as if Pam Bondi, who, like I said, is the CEO of Trump's private vengeance law firm, if she withholds files that really should be released.